How carburetor works. To meet the need of its work, the carburetor has several systems, namely buoy system, stationary and slow speed system, primary high speed system, secondary high speed system, power system, acceleration system, choke system, the fast idle mechanism, hot idle compensator, anti-dieseling. To simplify the analysis of damage or disturb caused by the carburetor, it is necessary to describe or explain each system that in the carburetor. Buoy system. A buoy system is needed to keep the fuel surface in the buoy chamber always constant. In the buoy chamber, there is a float and a float needle. Stationary system and slow speed. When the engine is rotating stationary, fuel flow from the buoy passes through the primary main jet, then to the slow jet, economizer jet, and finally to the combustion chamber through the idle port. Then when the gas pedal is pressed a little, the gas valve will open wider, so that the flow of fuel from the buoy chamber enter the combustion chamber in addition to going through the idle port as well as through the slow port. Primary high speed system. When the gas pedal is opened wider, the flow of fuel from the buoy chamber directly goes to the main nozzle, primary nozzle, while the idle port and slow port no longer release fuel because the vacuum in the idle port and slow port is lower than in the primary main nozzle area. When the gas pedal is opened wider, the flow of fuel from the buoy chamber directly goes to the main nozzle, while the idle port and slow port no longer release fuel because the vacuum in the idle port and slow port is long that the primary main nozzle area. Secondary high speed system. When the gas pedal is fully open, the secondary throttle valve is open, so that the fuel comes or other than the primary nozzle through the secondary main nozzle. Thus, the amount of fuel entering more because of the two nozzle release fuel. Power system. Primary high system has planned for economical fuel use. If the engine has to spit a lot of power, then there must be additional fuel to the primary high speed system. Additional fuel is supplied by the power system, so that mixture of air fuel become rich. If the gas valve is only slightly open, the vacuum in the intake manifold is large, so the power piston will be sucked in the up position. This will cause the power spring to press the power valve to that the power valve is closed. If the gas valve is opened wider, the vacuum in the intake manifold will be reduced so that the vacuum is not able to resist the spring valve power valve spring. As a result, the power piston will press the power valve so that the power jet channel is open. In this circumstance, fuel is supplied from primary main jet and power jet. Acceleration system. When the gas pedal is tapped on suddenly, the gas valve will open suddenly, so the air flow will be faster, while fuel flow slower because the specific gravity of the fuel is lower than the air so the mixture becomes thin. Even though in those circumstances a right mixture is needed for that the carburetor is equipped with an acceleration system. When the gas pedal is stepped on suddenly, the pump liner will move down pressing the fuel in the room under the pump liner. As a result, the fuel will pass the steel valve outlet and discharge weight, so that the fuel comes out through the pump jet into the combustion chamber. After pressing, the plunger pump returns to its original position due to a spring under the pump plunger. As a result, the fuel is the body chamber is sucked through the steel valve inlet. Choke system. When the engine is cold, the fuel will not evaporate properly, and some of the mixture of air and fuel that flow will condense on the intake manifold. While because the intake manifold is cold, this situation will cause the mixture of air and fuel to become thin, so that the mechanism in the fuel to lift. Choke system make the mixture of air and fuel become rich one by one, which is channeled into the cylinder when the engine is still cold. There are two choke systems commonly used in carburetor, namely the manual choke system and automatic choke system. Manual choke system. In the manual choke system, to open and close the choke valve, the linkage is used to connect to the wheel house. If the driver will open or close the valve enough to simply pull or press the choke button on the instrument panel dashboard. Automatic choke system. In the automatic choke system, the choke valve open and close automatically depending on engine temperature. In general, automatic choke system used on carburetor of two kinds: the heating system of the exhaust and the electric system. Fast idle mechanism. The fast idle mechanism is needed to increase the idle rotation while the engine is still cold and the valve is closed. If the choke valve is fully closed and the throttle valve is pressed once, then released, then at the same time the fast idle cam connected to the choke stroke, the rod rotate counterclockwise. Then the fast idle cam touches the cam flower connected to the throttle valve, so that the throttle valve will open slightly. Hot idle compressor HIC. If the vehicle is slow and the surrounding temperature is high, the temperature in the engine component will rise. This will cause a lot of fuel in the float chamber to evaporate and enter the intake manifold. As a result, the mixture of air and fuel become fast so as to allow a wrong rate of idle. Therefore, the carburetor needs to be equipped with HIC to overcome this problem. When the engine temperature rises, the bimetal open the thermostat valve so that air from the air horn flow into the intake manifold through the air duct in the flange, so that the mixture of air and fuel become normal again. The thermostatic valve starts to open when the temperature around the bimetal element has reached 50 Celsius and will open fully at 75 Celsius. Anti-dieseling. Dieseling is the turning of the engine after the ignition is turned off. Even though the ignition has been turned off, the engine can still turn on because there is heat in the combustion chamber. The process of combustion is not due to flame from the spark plug, but from a burning carbon deposit. The anti-dieseling method is a follow. When the ignition is on, then current will flow from the battery to the solenoid, so that solenoid will become magnetic. As a result, the valve is pulled so that the economizer jet open and the fuel can flow to the idle port. After the ignition is turned off, the current to the solenoid is absent, so that the magnetic just press. As a result, the solenoid valve drop down to a spring so that the channel on the economizer jet are closed. Therefore, there will no dieseling because fuel can flow the idle port.